Today, we're going to make friends with a very useful little group of Spanish past tense verbs. Not all the past tense verbs, just the ones you will hear all the time in real life and in simple stories. Ser or ir, estar, tener, and hacer. Small set, high value. That's the plan. We're talking about the preterite, the past tense for finished actions. Think of it as the snapshot past. Done. Complete. Yesterday, last night, this morning, one time, and finished. And here's the good news. Even though these verbs are irregular, the most important forms are so common that your brain can learn them as chunks. We're not going to wrestle grammar. We're going to collect a few strong, useful patterns. Let's start with estar, to be in the sense of location or state. In the preterite, the key forms are estuve, estuviste, estuvo, estuvimos, estuvieron. Notice the stem, estuve. It sounds a bit like it took a little vacation and came back wearing boots. Estuve. If you want to say yesterday I was at home, in Spanish that is ayer estuve en casa. Ayer means yesterday, estuve means I was, en casa means at home. How do you say yesterday I was at home in Spanish? Ayer estuve en casa. Ayer estuve en casa. Good. Now, a quick tip. With estar in this tense, think finished state or completed time in a place. Estuve en casa. I was at home, and that time is complete. Let's try another one. How do you say yesterday you were at school in Spanish? Ayer estuviste en la escuela. Ayer estuviste en la escuela. Nice. And yes, la escuela is school. If you hear colegio in some places, that can also mean school. Useful little detour. Now let's go to ser and ir. Here's the strange but important thing. In the preterite, ser and ir share the same forms. Fue, fuiste, fui, fuimos, fueron. Same forms, two meanings. Was that annoying? Maybe a little. Is it manageable? Absolutely, because the sentence usually tells you which meaning makes sense. For example, fui al parque clearly means I went to the park. You don't say I was to the park in English, so your brain knows it's went. But fue divertido means it was fun. That clearly points to was. Memory trick. The forms are like one coat shared by two verbs. Ser and ir borrow the same coat in the past. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron. How do you say, last night we went to the park in Spanish? Anoche fuimos al parque. Anoche fuimos al parque. Great. Anoche means last night. Fuimos means we went. Al parque is to the park. And notice al. That's just a plus el. Spanish loves efficiency. Now this one. How do you say it was a good day in Spanish? Fue un buen día. Fue un buen día. Excellent. Fue here means it was, not went. Why? Because un buen día gives you the clue. A day can be good, but it doesn't go anywhere. Let's keep moving with tener, to have. In the preterite, the forms are tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvieron. Hear that tuve stem? That's your anchor. Tuve, had. Tuvo, had. Tuvieron, had. This verb is super common in storytelling because people always have something in stories. A problem, an idea, a question, a great time, bad luck, good luck, a sandwich if the story is going well. How do you say I had a problem in Spanish? Tuve un problema. Tuve un problema. Perfect. And notice problema ends in a, but it's still masculine. Un problema. That's one of those Greek origin words like sistema and programa. Tiny side note, very useful. How do you say they had an idea in Spanish? Tuvieron una idea. Tuvieron una idea. Very nice. Tuvieron una idea. Now let's add hacer, to do or to make. In the preterite, the forms you really want first are hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicieron. The only one that really likes to show off is hizo, not hico, hizo, with a Z. That's a classic learner mistake, so let's catch it early. How do you say they did homework in Spanish? Hicieron la tarea. Hicieron la tarea. Good. Hicieron la tarea. And la tarea is homework. If you want to say housework, that's usually los quehaceres or el trabajo de la casa in some contexts. But for now, keep tarea as homework. How do you say I made dinner in Spanish? Hice la cena. Hice la cena. Excellent. Hice la cena. Let's connect all 4 verbs now, because that's how you'll actually use them. A simple story might go like this. First, someone was somewhere. Then they went somewhere. Then they had a problem. Then they did something. Boom. Instant storytelling. Listen to this little pattern chain. Ayer estuve en casa. Luego fui al supermercado. Tuve un problema. Hice una lista nueva. Yesterday I was at home. Then I went to the supermarket. I had a problem. I made a new list. See how practical that is? These are not museum verbs. These are daily life verbs. Now let's do a few more natural moments. How do you say, yesterday she was tired in Spanish? Ayer estuvo cansada. Ayer estuvo cansada. Good. Estuvo cansada. And if it's a man, cansado. Just matching the description word. How do you say, we had a lot of time in Spanish? Tuvimos mucho tiempo. Tuvimos mucho tiempo. Nice. Tuvimos mucho tiempo. How do you say, he made coffee in Spanish? Hizo café. Hizo café. Perfect. Short, useful, and very real. Hizo café. Now, a few common mistakes to avoid. First mistake, mixing up era and fue, or iba and fui, too early. For today, stay focused on the finished action past. Fue can mean was or went, depending on context. Era and iba are another kind of past, more like background or ongoing past. Important later, but today our lane is the completed past. Keep the car in this lane. Second mistake, saying hico. The correct form is hizo. If it helps, think hice, hiciste, hizo. The Z pops in there like a surprise guest. Third mistake, forgetting that ser and ir share forms. If you hear fue, don't panic. Just ask, does the sentence mean was or went? Context solves the mystery most of the time. Fourth mistake, trying to memorize every person all at once. For real conversation, learn chunks. Estuve en casa, fui al parque. Tuve un problema, hice la cena. Then expand. Here's a memory shortcut for all 4. Estar gives you estuve. Tener gives you tuve. Hacer gives you hic and hizo. Ser and ir give you fui, fue, fuimos. So your brain can store them like 4 little shelves. Estuve, tuve, tuve, hizo. Let's hear a short story now, all in Spanish first. Just listen. Ayer estuve en casa por la mañana. Después fui al parque con un amigo. Allí tuve un pequeño problema porque olvidé agua. Mi amigo hizo un café, pero yo quería agua. Al final fuimos a una tienda y fue una tarde divertida. Now the same story, one sentence at a time. Ayer estuve en casa por la mañana. Yesterday I was at home in the morning. Después fui al parque con un amigo. After that I went to the park with a friend. Allí tuve un pequeño problema porque olvidé agua. There, I had a small problem because I forgot water. Mi amigo hizo un café, pero yo quería agua. My friend made a coffee, but I wanted water. Al final fuimos a una tienda y fue una tarde divertida. In the end, we went to a shop, and it was a fun afternoon. Nice and simple, but full of the exact verbs you need. Let's do a final quick run, almost like building blocks. How do you say I was at the park in Spanish? Estuve en el parque. Estuve en el parque. How do you say we went to the store in Spanish? Fuimos a la tienda. Fuimos a la tienda. How do you say she had a question in Spanish? Tuvo una pregunta. Tuvo una pregunta. How do you say I did the homework in Spanish? Hice la tarea. Hice la tarea. Excellent. You're not just memorizing forms now. You're telling mini stories. So let's recap. Today's key idea is the finished past with 4 very important irregular verbs. Estar becomes estuve, estuviste, estuvo. Tener becomes tuve, tuviste, tuvo. Hacer becomes hice, hiciste, hizo. And ser and ir share fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron. If you remember just a few high-frequency chunks, you're already winning. Estuve en casa, fui al parque, tuve un problema, hice la cena, fue un buen día. Those are powerful little pieces. And remember, irregular doesn't mean impossible. It just means these verbs have personality. Strong personality, yes, but now they're becoming familiar. Keep listening for them, repeat them out loud, and use them in tiny personal stories about yesterday, last night, or last weekend. That's where they stick. You're doing great, and your Spanish is getting more real with every sentence.